So my name is Patrick Gladstone. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions at Tufts.
Great. And so what about this essay really drew you to it? Or like what stood out to you about it?
Yeah, so Chris took kind of a casual approach, which I appreciated. A lot of students are scared away by a formal college admission essay, but Chris was able to be very real and personable in the one paragraph that he had to answer the essay. So when Chris started, he said that he was visiting campus on a tour, and he happened to harmlessly eavesdrop on a couple of Tufts students, I think, when they were near the Tisch Library roof. And he had mentioned that he heard two different things. He heard them talk about physics and lunch. Interesting dichotomy there. So first he says when they spoke about physics, they did so without pretension, and that really hit it on the mark for me because it's something I like to talk about. It's very much an important part of the Tufts culture. So I like to tell visiting students that Tufts students are smart, creative, and kind, and I think Chris was able to get that point across very quickly. And then he talked about lunch, or what he heard them talk about lunch, and how I think the words he used were, they talked about lunch with a witty intrigue. A seemingly kind of mundane topic he was able to bring to life in a fun and playful way. So it popped. I could see in just one paragraph that he got Tufts.
Great. And what would you recommend to students who don't have this opportunity to tour Tufts or to observe students or hear the conversations or meet them? What would you recommend to those?
Yeah, I think that's a common question because so many students aren't able to visit campus, and that doesn't mean you can't write a great why Tufts, right? There's a lot of different ways you can do that. So you need to show that you've connected with campus. So to do that, it's best to be specific. So even if you weren't able to visit the physics department or the political science department, you can still talk about those departments in as much as you've done the research. So that means going online, right? Going to their websites and actually looking through the course offerings and the research projects that are taking place. So you can show that you've done your research on the back end, even if you weren't able to visit campus. That shows that you have a passion and a real interest for Tufts.
What would you say about students who kind of feel like they visited a lot of campus tours? Maybe they're getting a little mixed up about which ones were which. Like, what do you have any recommendations to remember, like what specifically Tufts was about and how to write about that later on?
Yes, make a list. So after the visit, even I see students during their visit writing these things down. Make a list. Actually physically write out a list of the things that you thought were unique to that school, so that when the time comes down the road after a few months, that you're able to decide which school was the right fit based on those pieces that hit home for you when you were visiting that campus.
Great.
Yeah.
So what are some pitfalls that students fell into with this specific question?
Yeah, so that's one of the best questions to ask, the most telling, because I tell students the best piece of advice that I can give you is try to stay away from the more generic or general answers. You only have 100 words to work with at most, so you have to get right to the heart of what you want to say. So try to pick something specific to Tufts when you answer why Tufts. Don't talk about Boston more generally, or if you visit on a nice summer day, you're just talking about the campus and the beauty of campus aesthetically. Make sure you are picking something specific to Tufts. Research that's happening on campus, a class you really want to take, or the campus culture that you saw when you visited campus.
Great. Well, thanks so much.
Yeah.